Handstands will ruin your wrists if you skip these exercises. I've heard from so many people that they had to stop practicing handstands due to wrist pain, which is not surprising. Handstands put an immense amount of strain on the wrists, and most people's wrists are simply not prepared for such a load. That's why it's essential to thoroughly prepare, mobilize, and strengthen this area so that your practice doesn't depend on whether your wrist hurts or not. In this video, I will show you the exercises you should perform to achieve mobile and strong wrists for handstands. We'll talk about specific strengthening exercises that not only build your wrist strength, but also help you achieve a much more stable handstand and a rock-solid freestanding handstand. The first step in preparing your wrists is mobilization, which you can achieve with a very simple exercise. Start in a kneeling position with your palms flat on the floor, fingers spread apart and facing forward, and your elbows straight. From here, perform circular movements over your wrists, ensuring that your palms remain on the floor the entire time. Try to draw as large circles as possible with your shoulders over your hands. This exercise will prepare your wrist for unusual loads, such as when you need to step on your hands during a handstand or when you bail out from a handstand. Thanks to proper mobility, these situations won't cause issues, and your connective tissues will also be ready for these unexpected positions. Of course, there are many types of wrist mobilization exercises. This is one of the most useful, but if you want to try more movements, check out my full video on wrist mobilization. After mobilization, let's move on to the strengthening exercises. The first exercise is the palm pulses, which works the wrist flexion, so the flexor muscles of the forearm. This exercise helps you in many exercises on the floor in a support, from a simple push-up, the handstand, press to handstand, planche progressions, or advanced push-up variations. In the handstand, when you need to keep the balance, the best if you only use your wrists. When you accidentally lean forward, you can control the balance with pushing your palms to the ground. That's the flexion movement of the wrist joint that this exercise strengthens. It's similar to when you're standing on your feet, lean forward and pushing the floor so you can keep the balance. Of course, it only works for a certain point, but it helps a lot. When you're doing a press to handstand and your shoulders are further than your hands, besides the mobility, you need the strength to keep yourself in the right position, applying the same flexion strength I mentioned. The same happens in the planche progressions on the floor. Or when you're doing a false grip on the rings to do a muscle up, even on the bar to do a slow-mo muscle up, you need the same flexion strength, but on an extreme level. This exercise will help you with that as well on a basic level. The point of this movement is to do a palm elevation in shoulder with kneeling support, with forward-looking fingers and locked elbows. You need to push the ground, elevate your palms, and keep your fingers on the ground. Only your thumb can elevate. This movement is the same as when you stand on your feet and elevate to half feet, but down with your hands. The progressions are the following. You can start on the wall, then in kneeling support, in kneeling push-up position, and finally in push-up position. Since we do the wrist mobility exercises in kneeling support, you can do the same with this one, and if you want, you can decrease the intensity by putting more load on your legs instead of your hands. In the beginning, you can put more weight on your legs, so once you feel more confident in this exercise, you can place more weight on your hands. This is how you should increase the intensity, by putting more and more weight on your hands until you arrive to the final progression in the push-up position. It's different for every person. When can you step to the next level? So for instance, if you feel that you can do the movement with control and you can do 15 reps easily, you can try the next progression. It's important that you should not try harder progressions than the kneeling support in the beginning. It might look easy on the video, but you can hurt yourself easily and overload the joint. As a transition, you can always do the movement alternately. So for example, when you step up to the push-up position from the kneeling push-up position, you can do the reps alternately and feel how much load you will have in the next progression. Do 10 to 15 reps as part of your prehab routine, or if you only want to strengthen your wrists, you can do even 3 to 5 sets. The second strengthening exercise is the finger pulses that also works the wrist flexion, so the flexor muscles of the forearm with longer leverage involving the fingers. This movement will also help you with the exercises I mentioned before. To do this exercise, get into kneeling support in shoulder width stance, locked elbows and with forward-looking fingers. Elevate your index, middle and ring fingers. Your thumb and pinky can leave the floor. Keep your fingers straight in line with your hand, don't bend them backward. If you feel that safer or your position is more stable, you can bend them forward, especially in the more advanced variations as you see on the video. The progressions are the following. You can start at the wall, then in kneeling support, in kneeling push-up position with doing push-ups, and finally in the full push-up position. The progressions with push-ups are optional. Since those are more dynamic and your fingers get a big load, the risk of injury is higher. If you want to do them, be patient and consistent with the less intensive progressions. Do 10 to 15 reps as part of your prehab routine. The third exercise is the fist swing, which will help you on the parallettes, P-bars or rings to keep the balance, strengthening the adduction and the abduction movements. In this video, you can see how important these movements are in the press to handstand or balancing in the handstand and counterbalancing in the planche on the P-bars. You can see the tiny correctional movements of the wrist. To do the fist swing, you need to place your hands in a shoulder width stance as well. Supporting on your fists, you need to roll forward and backward, putting more load on the outer side of your fists. By rolling forward, you need to keep your elbows locked, and when rolling backward, your elbows need to slightly bend to follow the movement. It's important to do these movements actively from your wrist joint and not passively rolling. I suggest to do this exercise on a softer surface because rolling on a harder surface can be painful. The progressions are the same as in the previous exercises. You can start on the wall, then in kneeling support, in kneeling push-up position, and finally the full push-up position. You can start this one in the kneeling support as well, and you can put more load on your legs first. Do 10 to 15 reps as part of your prehab routine as well after the palm poses and finger poses. With these exercises, you can effectively mobilize and strengthen your wrists for handstands. If you're looking for an even more comprehensive wrist preparation routine or a full joint preparation program with mobility and strengthening exercises, click the link in the description and join the Gymnastics Method community. If you want to get the most out of yourself and support your progress with irreplaceable help, personalized guidance, constant feedback, and 24/7 accountability from an expert, apply to one-on-one coaching. Otherwise, if you want to work at your own pace using the same well-structured system, just click the link below and join the Gymnastics Method community with the app and get access to all my programs, tutorials, daily workouts, and much more. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and now check out my other wrist preparation videos on the end screen.